Okay, hello everyone. So we are going to start the first episode of Anyone Python special season for the SMU. So if you missed the episode 0, which is the orientation of the Anyone Python, please find the recorded video and watch the video. So we didn't discuss the technical detail or anything, nothing about the Python, but we have the very good introduction of how what is the Anyone Python and how we can manage the Anyone Python. So for your review, what is the Anyone Python? So Anyone Python is the introductory and the very basic computer science and the Python the class. So for those who do not major in computer science and those who do not know any background in the computer programming, so this Anyone Python introduced how to start to use the Python for the programming. Also, not only just the programming, so we are going to see what is a computer and how computer is organized and what is a program language. For those who are a little bit afraid of the program language, we are not going to directly use the Python. Instead, we are going to use the very nice robot, which is named as the Carol. So Carol will be introduced soon. But before that, today, during the episode 1, we are going to start to install the Python program language. So if you have a computer, that doesn't mean that you can do the programming coding. So we need to install the programming language. So today, during the episode, we are going to install the Python program language on your computer. Then you guys are ready to start the programming world. Okay, so as I suggest you, so let me change my screen as a desktop. So please open the web browser, the Safari or the Chrome, either way is fine. So always open the web browser as well as something programming right hand side. Today we are going to install the Python. So after you install the Python, so you can do the programming right hand side, and also you can watch the Zoom video, then the Zoom live. So you don't have to pay attention to my shape or face. Instead, please try to see the lecture note and so on. So Anyone Python actually does not provide a very detailed material. So because if you read the material or the textbook, so there's no time to learn the program language. Just like the long time ago when I was the middle school student, I started to learn the English. At that time, I learned the English from the book. So I memorized the word and a sentence, but I never speak in English. So it doesn't help the student to improve the language if the student learn the language from the textbook. It's the same thing in the program language. Computer program language, the best way is practice, not reading the textbook. So that's the reason I do not provide any material in advance. So after each episode, as you have received the email from the TA, you are able to access the PDF file, the PPT file that I have used during the episode lecture, then you can review. But during the lecture, please try your best to follow me. Okay, that is the best way to start to learn the Python program language. Okay, so let me go back to the screen, to the slide. So today's topic is mostly this one, install the Python. So we are going to install the Python. specifically Python 3. So I'm going to explain what is the 3. What does the 3 means? So then also before that, so when you make a friend, you should know about the friend, okay? So if you can speak the English or any language, that doesn't mean you can make a friend. So when we are using the computer, the using program language does not mean you understand the computer. So first, before we start the Python program language, it is good time to know about what is a computer. So today I'm going to start today's episode. Before we install the Python 3, so we are going to see and we are going to learn what is the computer. So before we start the even computer, I'd like to introduce the very brief history of computer. But by the way, what is a computer, by the way? What is a computer? So when I learned the English first time, so I think the first word is like the first vocabulary is like the student. What is a student? And also teacher. What is a teacher? So my English teacher taught me the teacher is from the verb teach. So teacher means it's a person who teach something. So similarly, so if you see the, let me change it. This is another, the screen that I frequently use is my iPad. So whenever I need to write something, so for example, what is a teacher? So teacher means so a person who teach. Like this. Then what is a computer then? So computer means it's a thing. It's not definitely the person. So it's a something, a thing which can compute. So most important part is the compute. So we can define, we can say the computer is something which can compute. Mostly you can imagine compute what? It's a number. So we are going to see from that definition, what is a first computer? So let me show you the one very interesting, the presentation file. Okay, so let me change the screen to this. Actually, this one is better. Okay, there. So this is actually the Prezi slide. Yes. So let me make it bigger. So the slide shows the brief history computer. So what is a computer? Computer is a thing that can compute. From that definition, so we can see what is the first computer. Wow, it's a BC 2500, which means it's around almost 5,000 years ago. There was the first computer, which is called the abacus. So abacus is actually, believe it or not, I used the abacus when I was elementary school. So especially in the math class, we used such an abacus. Abacus is a simple rack of the bead. So it's a marble. So then each marble represents a number. So it can represent something, the digit. So we can calculate this, the most of the average arithmetic operation, like the plus minus, and such a simple arithmetic operation. Still, so there are competition. So which one is faster between abacus user or the computer like that? So this is the first computer, which really, but that's different from the current computer. We will see the difference later. So around the BC and AD, like that. It's 2,000 years ago. This is one of the most popular devices. It's called the astronaut. So it's a mechanical device. So actually the invention, when the people found this device, it's not like the fancy nice. It was inside, they dig inside the ground, then it's really squeezed. But people use X-ray and MRI and what is really weird thing. Then finally they we invent this mechanical device. It's around 2,000 years ago. Then at the time, the people used this one to measure the position or the distance when they sail. So this is kind of astronomy, the device, but they calculate. It's like the geometry or the astronomy, even the trigonometry or the distance and so on. This is the old style computer. Then jump to the 17th century. 17th century. So finally, we have the calculator. Calculator means calculating plus, minus, multiply, and division. Those operations are calculated automatically. Let's see how they do. So you can see the digit number over here. Then if you rotate something here or push it, then it calculates the plus, minus, such an arithmetic operation. So Leibniz, you heard about the name of the mathematician, very popular mathematician. It's Leibniz, the calculator. So it's a kind of the first mechanical and a very well-known the calculator. We can say this is also old computer. Then in 19th century, so we have such the Jacquard room. The room is like something the combining something. Then though we can actually from that time we use such a hole. What is the beauty of such a hole? So if we can make the hole, then we can represent what? The 0 or 1. So it's a binary number. So which means, so if we can convert binary to the decimal, binary to the hexadecimal. So using this, the room, we are able to represent any number. So this is a kind of the first programmable device, the Jacquard room. Then the 19th century is much improved. It's analytical engine. So this is a programmable mechanical computer. However, it's different from the current computer. So when we are saying the computer, it's based on what? Electric. So it's an electrical computer. But still, until that time, we didn't use the electricity. So, but it used mechanical power. So like the gear or the button or spring like that. So, but the inside, they are using something programmable, like the punch card and so on. So this is the first programmable mechanical computer. It's a computer, but it's a mechanical computer. It's not the electric computer yet. Then we need to remember along the history of computer name of Turing. So you heard about the name of Alan Turing. So Turing, the Alan Turing is kind of the father of the computer science, because the Alan Turing was born in England, and he was a genius, the mathematician. So he was selected as the secret agency in England during the World War II. Then he worked to decode the encrypted message between the German, army. So most of people try to find the decrypt or find the pattern. So with their intuition. However, Alan Turing tried to use mechanical motion or electric motion, which is computer. So he tried to decode the encrypted message using what? Computer. Because of that, the Alan Turing is called the father of computer. Then Turing motion nowadays is highlighted because of AI. So he said, if the people cannot recognize between the computer and the human being, that is a kind of a Turing machine. So our AI, goal of AI is to mimic the human, the sense and the human intelligence. So Alan Turing actually the thought about the artificial intelligent machine, so like almost 100 years ago. Then we have, after the World War, so we have a lot electronic, the computer device, which is nowadays our computer. So then you can see nowadays modern computer like that, probably. So this is also old one, but probably on in front of you, you may have the computer. So this is the really brief history of a computer, but you may get the idea of what is a computer. So then let's go back to here. Based on that, I'd like to introduce then what is really computer. What are the basic components of the computer? So to do that, I like to use the device for writing. Okay. So from now on, so this is what it looks like the rectangular. This one looks like the square. But from now on, in our class, anyone Python class, the rectangular shape is the thing. For what? This is our computer. So from now on, when I draw such a rectangular, this one means computer. There's a different name of computer. So sometimes somebody called this one is a server, because it works for the user, it works for the server, for any request. Sometimes the name is different. It's a server, where sometimes it's called a node. When we have many computers, then we say one of the computer is a node. But here is a computer. So why don't you see the nearby your desk or in your pocket, in your bag, how many computers do you have right now? So why don't you count how many computers? So in my case, I have my cell phone, and also I'm using iPad. I have the MacBook. I have another computer behind, and also I have the window. So within I think the 5 feet is around maybe at least the 5 computer. So which means nowadays computers are everywhere. Sometimes we call the environment as IoT, so Internet over Things. So computers are connected. So we have a lot of computers. Think about your router at your home. So in your home, probably you have the internet router or Wi-Fi router. Then why don't you check how many devices are connected? So many devices. So we have a bunch of many computer. Without computer, we cannot live nowadays. Then how is the computer organized? Really, what's inside the computer? So when we are saying the computer, from now on, it's an electronic device, such an electronic device. So what is it inside such a computer? So first thing we can imagine is, anyone who knows, what is the most important part of a computer? If you know the answer, you can use the chatting box. You can use the chat box, then the type. So what is the most important part of the computer? Anyone who knows? So what is the most important part? In other words, when you go to the computer shop or the apple.com or the hp.com, the online shopping. So when you buy a computer, what is the most important thing you consider? Probably you will check this one, which is called the CPU. The CPU. So what is a CPU? So CPU is represent Central Process Unit. So what is a computer? Computer is a thing that can compute. Compute what? Number. Who compute? So actually the CPU can compute the data. Okay, I'm saying right now data is more complicated data, but you can just imagine CPU can compute, process. So sometimes this CPU is called the processor. So processor is a different name of the CPU. So for example, so you know the Intel, you know the AMD, you know the power chip. So those are the processor or CPU. So CPU is kind of a brain of the body. Okay, so most important part. So if you want a decent computer, you need to find the very fast the CPU or processor, like the Intel, the i8 or i9, and so on. Okay, so that is the processor. Then what is another thing that is a part of computer? Do you know any other the computer part that's inside the computer? So when you buy the cell phone, like that, which one is better, 32 gig or the 64 gig or the 128 gig? Definitely, I want the bigger size of what? When we are saying the 16, 32 gig or 64 gigabyte, what are they? That is the memory. So memory is the storage in a computer. Storage means is where you can store the something. What is the something? So that is data. So let me, yes. So data. So I said the CPU can process the data. CPU can process the number. CPU process the command. CPU process such a data. But where is such a data? The CPU does not have the very big storage. Actually, the CPU cannot keep the whole data. Instead, CPU read the data from memory. So memory has the data, then CPU can read the data So CPU can read the data from the memory. So whenever CPU need to process, CPU try to read the data from memory. So memory is a kind of the storage. So for example, so I'd like to use this to compare, to explain what is a computer. This is very nice, the comparison. So think about this one. This is my desk. So my desk is like this. So I'm working on this. So this is the main working area. So here the CPU is like this one, my working area. So sometimes I read a book. So where is my book? So where is my data? So my data is my drawer here. So I can get such a data from the drawer. Then I can write a report. I can send a message. I can summarize the book. So this is at that time, this is a kind of a CPU on my desk. And such a drawer is like the memory on my desk. So whenever I need a new book, so I can bring a book from the drawer, then bring on my desk. Then I can process. So this is kind of computer. Then memory looks good. However, memory is expensive. So we cannot keep all the data in one. So I have a lot of friends and I have a lot of books. So, but we cannot keep the whole data in the memory. So we need to have the storage. So this is called sometimes a hard disk drive. Sometimes we use SSD, solid state disk. So this one is the hard disk drive, and this one has much bigger than memory. So when you download the file, or when you take the photo, so such a file will be stored at this storage. So storage is sometimes called the file system. File system. Then, if memory is too small, so we cannot find the data, then your computer search the file and bring the data file to the memory, then CPU can read the data. So this is how computer is working. Okay. So for example, I download I'd like to install the TikTok. So if you download the TikTok, so TikTok file will be here. Then when you double click, this TikTok will be moved to the memory. Okay. Then CPU can process TikTok command one by one. There are many commands inside the TikTok program. Then, so this one will be processed. So this is how it works. So if I compare this computer organization with our desktop. So this is the desk. I have the CPU, my working area, and I have a drawer. But what if the storage is very small? So for example, I'd like to turn into the bookshelf. I have bookshelf the right hand side. So what if I need more books? So I can go to my bookshelf, stand up, bring the book, then the book will be here. Okay, then this book will be moved to my desk. Then finally, I can read the book. So, if you need more storage, like you can have the bookshelves or cabinet. So this cabinet is really large, much bigger than your drawer. Okay, then so we can understand from this, the file system is the storage where we can put a lot of file data. Then when we need to process, when we need to read or write, we can bring such a file to the memory. Then finally CPU can process the data. So this is how a computer is organized and how computer is working. But one more thing. So you can see the many arrows here. Okay. So arrows, the CPU to memory, memory to the CPU, and memory to the file system. So how can we send such a data? So for this purpose, there is a this kind of a highway. So this is the way where the data is transferred. So this is called the bus. So bus is the kind of highway to transfer, to send, and to receive the data. So then if you understand what is the CPU, what is the memory, and what is the file system, and they are connected using bus, then you pretty much understand. You can say like the computer science major student, you can say the computer has the CPU, memory, and the file system. They are connected by the bus, and CPU process the data on memory. And the memory is small, fast, so we need to use the hard disk drive or file system to keep very large data. So then this is the computer organization. Okay. However, there's one big problem when a user, there's a user who wanna use this computer, because the most of users are human beings. We are using natural language like the English, Korean, or Chinese. Unfortunately, computer cannot understand such a human language. Computer can understand only the machine language. We call this is the machine language. So machine language is nothing but the 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, like the binary number. So it's very hard to understand. But we are using natural language like the Korean or the English. So there is the huge gap, okay? But we want to use computer. Then how? So we need programming. So we need the program language. So program language is helping us, not helping computer. It's helping us, human being. Okay. Then to use computer. So the program language will be changed, translate to the machine language. Then this machine language will be processed by the CPU. So this program language is very close to the human language, like the English. So if you see even though you never use the program language, but if you see the program language, it's almost you understand. 80%, 90% you can understand because it's written in English, very simple English. So you guys can understand. So you don't have to be scared. I don't know anything about computer. No, if you understand like the 3 years old, 4 years old, the English level, you can understand the programming. Okay. So what we're gonna do in the SMU Python this season, we are going to see really very basic the program language. There are many different languages. So for example, we are going to learn the Python. So Python is nowadays the very popular program language. And also you heard about the C or C++ and Java and so on. So we are saying this is the high level language. High level means it's like the human being. So high level means it's a human language. There is the opposite of the high level is low level. So low level language is the machine language. It's a binary code. So computer uses such a low level language, but fortunately, we are using high level language. So among them, in this class, we are going to learn the Python. Okay, so this is a simple introduction of computer. If you understand this much, it's pretty much enough to say, I know, I understand what is a computer. Then you can say the computer has a CPU. CPU is the processor, is the main part, and it's the most important intelligent part. Then you can say the computer has a memory as a primary storage where the data is stored, and the CPU can access the data from memory. But memory is fast, but it's small. So we need file system like that. At that time, the to use the computer research, we are using program language, specifically high-level program language. So I learned the Python program language like that. Okay, so this is the very good introduction of the computer. Then now we are going back to our slide. Then finally, so to know about the Python, so we need to have the Python. So Python is also program. So it's not built-in. It's not the installed in your computer. We are going to down, just like as if you are downloading the app from the Apple Store or the Google Play Store. So you need to download and install the Python program. Then you are able to use the Python language, then ask or the order. You can ask your computer process something. That is the programming. Okay, so how can we install? Before we start to install, I'd like to introduce this guy. This guy name is Guido van Rosa. You don't have to memorize his name. So he is the creator of Python. He recently retired. He's from the Netherlands, and he was a software engineer or the developer. He recently retired from the Google. But you don't have to memorize the name of this guy, but good for you if you know this guy's name. So what is a Python? Before we start to install a Python, so Python is, as I said, is a high-level language. So this is the high-level program language, which means it's close to human language, English. Okay, which means it's good for us. And also, the Python is interpreter. Interpreter means, as I said, we need a program language to translate from human language, high-level language, to machine language. So it's a translator, it's an interpreter. Specifically, it's a line by line, the translator, that is the interpreter. So object-oriented language, you don't have to worry about what is object-oriented right now. So we will learn later the more details, but object-oriented language, even the computer science major, why don't you ask if you have the computer science major student, what is the object-oriented language? So if they can answer it's good, but the most of the student, even though the student who are using the object-oriented language, they don't understand the clearly. But throughout the lecture, I'm going to introduce what is the object-oriented language. Open source is good, it's free, okay? And general purpose, we can use the Python for data analytics. We can use the Python for the image processing. We can use the Python for any purpose, which is good. And also highly extendable. Highly extendable means there's a lot of people. So I'm going to use, I'd like to know AI. Then do I need to start from the beginning? No, you don't have to. Python provide the package and the software that implement the AI, machine learning, statistics, the images, and so on. So you can just, it's called import to your program. So your program can be extended. So it's highly extendable. You can use the package. Code readability is good for us because it's easy to read, okay? So nowadays, current version, we are going to check the version 3.9. But in our program, we are going to use the 3.8.2. This is a stable version. It's too early. Okay, recently the release, so I didn't test it. So we are going to use the 3.8.2. But sometimes you may see the old version, Python 2, 2.7.18. This will not be supported. This is old Python. Okay, so it will be retired in the 2020 this year. So please do not use the Python 2 even though you have. So we are going to use the Python 3. So Python 3 include all this version, but we are going to use 3.8.2. Okay. Let me clear this and move to the next. Why we use Python? You can see the trend of the program language. You can see the Python is increased drastically, exponentially increased from 2012 to the 19. And the other program language is stable or the less and less. But the Python is, it will be like this one in near future. So Python, if you learn the Python, so it's obviously helpful for you. Okay, so let's start the install the Python. How do I install? You can go to python.org. So if we are using the Windows, it doesn't matter, Windows or Mac. So please open your browser. So let me change the my screen share. Okay, so this is so why don't you type the python.org. Okay, so why don't you start the web browser? So then in the address, you can type python.org. So why don't you type the python.org? Then you can see the web pages. Then I will give this is the first time the activity, so I'm going to give the 1 more minute. So please open your browser, okay? And you can type python.org, okay? How do I install? First, as I said, you need to download the file. So to download the file, you can see the download for Mac because I'm using Mac. If you are using Windows, it will show the download for Windows. But please do not you can do that, but to make the same version in this class, please select if you are using Windows. If you are using Mac OS, the Mac OS. Okay, so in my case, Mac OS. Okay, then if you scroll down, you can find the 3.8.2. If you cannot find so I have it this one. So 3.8.2. You can also search 3.8.2 like this. So you can see many different ones. Do not select the IC2, IC1. So just the Python 3.2 and Mac OS 64-bit. Most of your computer is a 64-bit. It's very hard to find the 32-bit, so ignore 32, okay? So only the 64-bit. So quick question, what is a 64, what is a 32? I explained the bus. Do you remember? Just before I explained the bus. So if bus has the 32 line, 32 wire, or 32 lane, it's 32-bit computer. If bus has a 64, which is much bigger, so it's a 64-bit. Obviously, 64-bit is faster. So you can click this one, then we'll download. So let me change the Windows. So this is my another Windows computer. You can select the same thing, python.org. Then the download. Do not click the 3.9. So instead of Windows. So you can find the 3.8.2. 3.8 point. This is the remote desktop, so it's slow. Almost there. 3.3. 3.8 point. Yes, here. So Windows, in case of Windows, you can select the executable installer. Okay, you can select the 64 x86-64 executable installer. Then click. Then it will download the file. Okay, once it downloads the file, just go ahead. You can double click. You can double click to install. So for those who cannot find the file, I'm going to give on the chatting box is the Mac for Windows user. So you can use this link, and the Mac user. So this is the link. So you can copy and paste to your browser, can download. And next thing is very straightforward. Let me show you this screen. There's one thing important in Windows. You need to check box for the add to path. Please, the add to path. So this one, bottom of that, you can the checkbox, add Python to path. You don't have to worry about the 7, 8. You probably has the 8 point, the 2. Okay. Then you can select the install now. You don't have to customize. You can just select the install now. It's the same thing for the macOS user. It's the same thing. But macOS user, you don't have to worry about this one. Mac already include the path. I'm going to explain later, probably during the session, why you need to add this. Okay. If you select, then it will be like the straightforward, and then it will be installed. Let me change back to here. So it's a download, double click, and add. Please add this. Add a Python 3.8 to path. Okay, otherwise it will be really tired to check where is the Python, so on. Then you can install. Yes. I'm not going to do this because I installed already, but you can click. It will actually has this kind of pop-up on MacBook, so you can continue, then finally you can install. So not a problem. So pretty much similar. Okay, once it doesn't take a long time. The file size is 20 something megabyte. It's successful. Then close. Then you are all set. You are ready. Okay. So please give me a thumbs up if you complete the installation. Okay. So if you have any problem, so you can ask the question to the TA using chat box. Okay. So this is for the Mac. So we already installed. Okay. I will give the couple of more minutes to complete your download and install. So please go ahead. If you complete the installation, please give me a thumbs up. Once again, for the installation part, so you can first go to the python.org. Python.org, here. So then select the download and select your operating system. If you are using Windows, click Windows. If you are using Mac OS, click Mac OS. So in my case, so I'm using the Mac OS, so I'm click the Mac OS. There are a bunch of different versions. Ignore everything. Only 3 point. So let me write down the version here. 3.8.2. this is the version we are going to use. It's not a big problem if you install the other. It's as long as you have the 3.7, 3.6 is also working. But if we are using Python 2, probably it will be the problem. So 3.8, so then the click and the go ahead. If you are using the Windows is the slightly different. You need to keep in mind the one thing. So that is Windows version. Don't forget to add the pass, the checkbox, the pass. Okay, then you can install now or the customize. It's just a straightforward. Next, 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 so on. Okay, so once you complete, you will see the setup was successful. Okay, then you can close. Okay, so can you follow me? So if you have any problem, please use your chatting box and ask the question whether you cannot find the file or any error or the so on. The most of case, 99% should be the successfully, the setup, everything. So it's not a complicated thing. Okay, one more minute. So please follow the step that is asking. There's nothing special. You can just click yes or the select yes, next. Then eventually you can install successfully. Okay, then I hope that everybody ready and everybody install the Python successfully. Then how do I know whether the installation is good? So first, we are going to test Python for Mac. So Windows user, just wait. Okay, to test the Python that you install for Mac user, start the terminal. If you never use the terminal, please go to the magnifier on your top right corner, which is called the Spotlight Search. Why don't you open the Spotlight Search? So it's in the top right corner, Spotlight Search. Here, type terminal. You don't have to type everything, but the terminal. Then you can see the kind of black, the icon like this. This is called the terminal. So enter. So you will see this kind of window. It's a terminal window. Okay, let me a little bit make it bigger. Yes. Here you can type Python 3. Please type the Python 3 for Mac user. Okay. So one more time, please type the Python 3 Mac user. So this one, Python 3. Okay. So 3. Then the hyphen 2 times version. So hyphen version. Then enter. If you see the Python 3.8.2, you are good. Okay, this is for Mac user. What about the Windows user? So Windows user, so very similar, but here you are going to use the search bar, bottom left corner search menu, type CMD. So CMD is similar as a terminal. It's a black icon. It's a CMD and click. So CMD, let me type. So for Windows user, it's a CMD. It's a command line. So command line is the same, not the same, but very similar as the terminal. So here you can type. So Windows user type the Python without 3. Here the without 3 version, hyphen version. So Python hyphen version. So then you can see the Python version 3.8.2. Let me make the increase. Okay. Yes, this is much better. So 3.8.2. So I hope that you are able to see this. Let me make it a little bigger. Okay, so Python hyphen version. There is a space always. So Python space hyphen version. If you can see this one, you are good. Then, since we have 5 more minutes, we are going to do one more thing because you are so smart. So I think that you can follow this. Here, the Mac user first. You are going to type Python 3 without anything. Python 3, enter. Python 3, enter. Then you will see this one. This is called the Python prompt. Python prompt. This is a Python shell. So what about the Windows? Windows is just Python. Enter. Then you will see the very similar, almost the same, right? Almost the same. Here, we are going to run the first Python program, Python command. So what is the Python command? It's a print. Please follow me. Print, parenthesis, and double quotation. Hello world. And the parenthesis. You can see the print hello world with a double quotation and left and right parenthesis. You can guess what is this command. Enter, hello world will be printed. The same thing for Windows user. You can just type print hello world. Same thing, parenthesis and double quotation mark and hello world and enter. If you display the different one like the print my name, so Jeongkyu Lee, you can type anything and enter. You can type anything, print anyone, Python. This is really Python programming. So you did the first Python programming. It's called the hello world. So the programmer and computer engineer use hello world as a first program in any programming language. Welcome to world, like that. So it's a hello world. So you are ready to use the Python. By the way, how can I exit? So when you exit, EXIT. One more thing, the last thing. Computer developer, programming developer, they are not that smart. So they usually make the name that you can imagine or guess. Exit is the exit of this program. But not just the exit. If you type exit, it will be error. It suggests to use the exit parenthesis. So exit parenthesis. I'm going to explain next episode why we use this one, the parenthesis. You can already realize that there is the parenthesis here. Also same thing. If you type exit, it will be error. So use left, right parenthesis. Okay. Enter, and you exit. Enter, you exit. Okay. So then if you are done, you can close. If you are done, you can close. Then that's it. Pretty much we complete today's task installing the Python. Then we are ready to use the Python. So next episode, so we are going to it's a little bit tired to type on terminal or black thingy. So we are going to use another software to do the Python programming, which is called the PyCharm. Okay, so thanks so much for your attending. And if you complete your installation and the first program, you are good. If you do not if you do not run the Hello World or first program, please follow the uploaded video. Then we are ready for the next step. Thanks so much. We will see the next episode.